purpose of this video is to solve trigonometric questions in an explicit and African accent way. My students have been suffering solving trigonometric questions, more especially those ones that have more than 1 degree, i.e. angles more than 90 degrees. Let us see the quadrant system. How does the quadrant system operate? The quadrant system operates in such a manner that an item is divided, a plane is divided into 4 parts. The first part is this one, second part is this one, third part is this one, fourth part is this one. The angles of every other part are shown on the clip below. So the angles here, between here and here in the first quadrant, the angles are 0 to 90. The angles in the second quadrant are 90 to 180. The angles in the third quadrant are 180 to 270. And the fourth quadrant, the angles are 270 and 360. Now, we can go to the outside. We can go to the outside where we will add 90 to 360 to get 450. That is in the second cycle. We add 90 to 450 to have 540, and we add 90 to 180 to have 270, and it moves like that. Let us see the angles. Here, the angles are between 0 and 90, but 90 is not inclusive in the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, the angles are 0 to 89.99. And the angles in the second quadrant are between 90 is included in the second quadrant, and then 179.99. The angles in the third quadrant, this quadrant here, this one here, are between 180 and 269.999 like that. So 270 is not in this quadrant, it is in the fourth quadrant. The fourth quadrant, the angles are 270 and up to 359.99. So 360 is the same as 0. That's why we wrote the first quadrant has it is between 0 and 300. It is like that. So 0 is the same as 360, just like 90 is the same as 400 and what, and 50 like that. So you can be able to see. So let us see how the questions are set in such a like. But before the questions, we need to reduce. When my student tries to work out this problem, the problem of trigonometric questions, my student must first of all know how to reduce the angles here such that they are read from our mathematical tables. They are less than 90. So in our next chart is the reduction of angles such that they can be read from our math table. So here the angles are less than 90. If you want this angle, if you have an angle theta, that's why it is colored here. If you have an angle theta here, that means, for example, 120. If you want to reduce that the 120 such that you can read it from our tables, such that it is less than 90, what you need to do is you use 180 degrees minus the angle given, the angle 120, so that you can read it from our math tables. Here, you do the same. It is theta minus 180, and this one, it is the angle in this quadrant minus from 360, so that you can be able to read it from a math table. Using mathematical tables, find the trigonometric values of sin 130. Sin 130 is in the second quadrant. Sin 130 is in the second quadrant, because 520 is more than 360. So we'll see what to do. And at negative 120, that means the angle is on the negative direction. The angle here, this is 0. And then when we move this way, This is negative 90. Angles in the negative direction. So this one, we are going to get it here. We are going to get it here, negative 120 degrees like that. And I'll explain vividly on how it moves. So I want to do scene 130. Scene 130 is in the second quadrant. And this is scene 130 being in the second quadrant. What we do, we reduce it such that we can be able to read it from our tables. So we'll say, this one is the second quadrant. We'll go to the quadrant system and then talk about all of them are positive. We'll talk about sine is positive. Talk about tan is positive. Talk about cos is positive. So here, the sine is positive. So we will begin by talking about this is equals to a positive value. The value of that one is a positive value. Then we talk of sin, then we reduce it such that it can be read from our math tables. To reduce it, we saw that x degrees equals to the degree that can be read here equals to 180 minus the angle that exists in this quadrant, minus the angle that exists in this quadrant. So the angle that exists in this quadrant here is called theta 130 like that. So x degrees equals to which one? 180 minus 130, that means 50 degrees. So this one is into bracket like this, 180 minus 130 like that. So the answer here equals to positive sin 50 degrees, which you can read from your math tables. So let us see. You can be able to see sin 130 is in the second quadrant, and so that from the second quadrant, all sine trigonometric values are positive. That's why this positive is here. Said reduce them, reduce this one so that you can be able to read from the tables. So this is 180 minus 130, which is 50, which is positive 0.7660. Part B is when we have cos 520. 520 is in the second cycle. So when we want to reduce it, say that it is in the first cycle, we minus one cycle 360 degrees. So when we minus 520 minus 360, we get it is 160. 160 is in the second quadrant. And so therefore, in the second quadrant, cos is negative, and that is why this negative is here. So negative cos, and then we reduce it 180 minus 160. What we get is negative cos 20, which is negative 0.9397. We now move to negative angles. For negative angles, the first thing for you to do is to question yourself. For example, if you have, if you turn, this is 0, you turn, this is negative 60 degrees like this, you have turned this way, then the question will be, if this is negative 60, if you are moving in the clockwise direction like this, up to here, what is the value of this one? That means you find the angle here. You calculate the angle here. That means you are going to add, you are going to have negative 60 degrees, u plus 360, so that you move in the other direction. So in this one, the answer is 300 degrees. So the equivalence of negative 60 is 300 degrees like this, which is in the fourth quadrant. And in the fourth quadrant, if you are asking about cos is positive. If you are asking about tan is negative, sine is negative. So let us see how we calculate tan negative 120. Tan negative 120 is the same as this one, is the same as tan negative 120 u plus 360, so that you locate its equivalence in positive value. So 120 minus 160, 120 minus 1 minus 360, 360. The answer here for 240 degrees. So tan 240 is in this quadrant, the third quadrant. Here is where we have 240, and tan is positive. So let us see the workings down. So it is negative 120 plus 360 tan 240 found in the third quadrant, and in the third quadrant tan is positive. So we talk about tan that one, which is tan 60, which you can read from your maths table, and my students writing the answer there is the positive a certain value. So when we calculate tan negative 1050, it is more than 2 cycles, so you add 720, so you will have a tan negative 330. Still, it's not a positive, so we add another 360, so that this angle here is a positive. When it's a positive, it is cos 30, and cos 30 is the first quadrant, and in the first quadrant, all angles are positive, so that is a positive 0.8660. We now move to where my students have a lot. A lot. When we talk about application of this particular problem in the quadrant system, where we are asked to work out this one in the interval 0 to 360. So working out this one in the interval 0 to 360, you will be required as a math student to use algebra in working out this problem here. So this problem, the first thing for you to do, this is 2, then sin x, u plus 1. This is equals to 0. So you will bring this one to this side. What you will have is negative 1 equals to 2 sin x degrees like that. Then divide by 2 both sides. So you talk about sin x degrees like this. The answer is negative 1 over 2. So to remove this sin from this other side, what we do is sin inverse both sides. Sin inverse both sides, and then work out this one here. So let us see our next clip what it says. Let's look at our next clip what it says before the time moves on. Our next clip is this one. You see, he has brought this one here, divided by 2. He has gotten this one like that. Then sin inverse of that one, which is 30 degrees, found in the third and the fourth quadrant. Why? Simply because, why is it found in the third and the fourth quadrant? Here, all angles are positive, including sin. Here, the sign value is positive. Here, the cosine is positive. So therefore, sine here is a negative. Tan, not cos. Tan here is positive, and the cos here is positive. So here and here is where we have the sign negative. So because of this negative here. So because of this negative here, we place the angle here and then the angle here. And so therefore the angles are 210 and 330 degrees. Let us move on to the next, my example B. Example B says what? What does example B say? Example B says 3 cos 2x you minus 40 degrees. It is here, you minus 40 degrees. The answer is negative 2. So the first step is to divide by 3. Divide by 3 all over. Then cos inverse both sides. Understand that the angle does not exist in the first and the second quadrant. It doesn't exist in the first quadrant and the fourth quadrant, not the second quadrant. It doesn't exist in the first quadrant. And which quadrant? It doesn't exist in the first quadrant and the fourth quadrant. It exists in the second and the third quadrant. So let us see what they have done. They have done it very easily. They have divided and then they have moved down to talk about cos inverse. This one has remained here, so they have gotten that the angles are found in the second and the second and third quadrant. Therefore, the angles are these ones. When the angles are these ones, this one works on only this. It works on only this. I have done what? This one and this one are the angles in the quadrants, but you can do binary angle production. And the binary angle production, you add 360 here to get this, add 360 here to get this, because here there is 2x, because there is 2x. So you will have 2x equals to, this one comes here, addition, 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 addition. Then you get all these values. Then when you have gotten all these values, you divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, and the answer is this one here. This is where my students suffer a lot, but it is very, very easy if you follow the quadrant system. And then when the angle, when here is 2x, you binary angle production. You add 360, you get this one, add 360, you get this one, because you are going to divide by 2 at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much. There is an assignment. The assignment, the exercise is there. Solve the following trigonometric questions in that range. The first problem is this one. The second problem is this one. The third problem is this one. Meet me in YouTube so that I solve those questions for you when you are in need. The answers are those ones. I will explain when in the next clip. And then thank you so much for listening to me.